Hi everyone, this is Nick from Hillhouse, and I'm doing a live review video for GRE Reading Comprehension. I know I promised you guys, I think a month ago or over a month ago, that I would do this video. So finally, here we are doing it. Feel free to ask any questions you have in the comments and I'll answer them as best I can. Right. Okay, so the basics of GRE reading comprehension. So it's actually half of your verbal sections are going to be reading comprehension questions. They will mostly be one paragraph. Some of them will be several, up to 450 words. And there will be these argument passages, which we'll talk more about in a bit. For the most part, you're going to want to use these two active reading questions to guide your reading. And what are those two active reading questions? So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what is this about? This forces you to summarize or literally comprehend the information that you're reading. So it'll help you find main ideas and details, though you're only ever going to want to read what you need to. And we'll talk more about that later also. So this is a question that you want to ask yourself about every paragraph that you read, every sentence in that paragraph that you read, and about the passage as a whole. The second question you want to ask is, why did the author write this? This forces you to consider the purpose, how anything fits into the passage as a whole, and also about why the author wrote that passage. So you'll see in a bit the sort of outline, main idea, major supporting detail, minor supporting detail. And by asking yourself this question at every step of the way, you are forcing yourself to sort of contextualize the argument. So how does this detail support the thesis, essentially? Also, when you're asked about what a specific word means, it'll help you figure out the author's word choice and the reasoning behind it. And there's another question, a bonus question. How does the author feel about this? This is basically just designed to make sure that you understand the tone. So is he angry about something? Is he supporting something? Why did the author write this? You can figure it out based on how the author talks about the subject, what adjectives and even what points the author brings up. Okay, so let's try it. And I encourage everyone to get the most out of this video, to get a piece of paper and a pen in front of you and try to take notes guided by those 2-3 questions that we just talked about with this passage. So this is an easy one. It's from the ETS GRE Verbal Reasoning Practice Questions. Go ahead, read this and take notes. I don't think that we have too many people watching live right now, so let's see. I encourage you guys to pause it if you're watching later. All right, so this was one paragraph that you had to read. Here are my notes for it. Ragwort to New Zealand is bad. Even worse is that they were shifting from sheep to dairy. Even the honey was changed. Livestock don't eat it, but they will. The sheep are okay, but the cattle will die. So notice the organization, how I had this top level, second level, and then these details here. Also notice the shorthand. X is for bad. This is even worse. The emphasis, I use the plus sign, and also this one is the most important, I use the exclamation point for any contradiction. This, you'll see that pretty much every GRE blog, every GMAT blog also for that matter, telling you to take note of these signal or trigger words. And when they signal contradiction, I have found that an exclamation point is a nice way to mark that. Okay, so let's see how useful these notes are to actually answer the questions. Once again, I'll give you a minute to do this. Pause it for as long as you need to, but do take note of how long you need to do this. Okay, so this is asking you about the proliferation of ragwort and why it was particularly ill-timed. So check these answer choices against your notes. Do they talk about a decline in agriculture? Well, they talk about a shift, but not a decline. So No, A is no good. Did it take place in conditions that let the ragwort spread faster? So they did talk about it mentioning, or that it did spread, but nothing about the conditions that made that happen. Did it increase the amount of toxic compounds contained in the plants? So this is true. However, it doesn't directly answer the question. That isn't what made it ill-timed. So be careful. Make sure that you're checking these answers also to that they answer the question and not that they're just in the passage. Did it prevent people from producing honey that could be eaten safely? Well, it did say that the honey, it was in the honey. But once again, does this answer the question of why it was ill-timed? Not quite, so we would cross that off. And finally, E, had consequences for livestock that were more dramatic than they otherwise would have been. So here we saw that they were shifting from sheep to dairy, that the sheep would be okay, but that the cows died. So what I encourage every test taker to do is, after taking notes and after trying to answer questions using those notes, is to check if your notes were as good as they could have been. So here, this top level, it really wasn't the main idea, was it? This was more the main idea that they were looking for, and all of these supported this. In fact, this first sentence, quickly became a pest, this is actually just introducing the topic. It doesn't introduce the main point, which is that it was made worse by the changes in agriculture from sheep farming to dairying. Let's see how they hold up. So yes, the correct answer is E for that one. And let's try one more question using these notes. So for this question type, you can check all that apply. So the problems that ragwort poses to dairy farmers. Do we see any mention of humans being sick? Not in our notes, and they aren't in our notes because it wasn't mentioned in the reading, so we can cross off A. Ragwort can supplant the plants normally eaten by cattle. So we don't have anything in our notes about it supplanting the normal plants. Cattle, unlike sheep, are unable to differentiate. Well, we see that the sheep are okay, but it doesn't say anything about differentiating. So just like I said, here, maybe my notes could have been a little bit better. So I have livestock don't eat, but they will. But if we actually go back to the passage and we see where we got that livestock of generally avoid grazing where ragwort is growing, but that's why we had that exclamation point, they will do so once it displaces grass and clover in their pasture. So maybe a better note that we could have taken is livestock won't eat, but will when displaced, or something like that, which would have helped us answer this with more confidence and quicker. So yeah, the correct answer is B. All right, so let's try a medium difficulty question. Once again, this is from the ETS GRE verbal reasoning practice questions. So once again, this is a one paragraph reading, but we can tell by the question that we're being asked that this is actually an argument question, because they're asking about what strengthens the argument. They also might ask you what weakens the argument, or what continues the logic of something. So for argument passages, we want to read the question, which is this, what's actually being asked. And only once we read that do we read the passage, and we read it for something called a skeleton. We want to just look for the logic. And after we do that, we anticipate the answer. If you're looking for more practice with these, this is really similar to the GMAT critical reasoning section, and there's a lot of LSAT questions that can help you practice this. Okay, so I'll let you take a minute to look at this. So here is my skeleton for this. We have one store with a skylight and it equals it has more money. So the department with the skylight has more money. Now, how can we strengthen this? This is where we want to anticipate the answer. If they're saying that the department with the skylight has more money. How can we strengthen that argument? We're basically looking for something that says, yes, the skylight does equal money. So with that in mind, here are the answer choices. Notice that all of these can get pretty complicated. And so what I tell test takers to do is, once again, look for the logic, look for the skeleton of these answer choices instead of getting caught up in the skin or the muscles of it. So how can we simplify A? Cloudy days, more artificial light, illuminate. So this says the clouds equal no skylight. I don't know if this has a very strong relationship with skylight equals money. B, the store is open at night. The department store, in the part of the store, skylights have sales that are no higher than those of other departments. So this is saying without the skylight, there's no extra money. This looks a lot more like our anticipated answer, that the skylight has money, but let's keep checking. Many customers purchase items from departments in both parts of the store on a single shopping trip. This just says money comes from both of them. D, skylight several differences. So this is saying that there are a lot of differences. It's not just the skylight, which actually sort of weakens this. So we can cross off D. And E, the departments in the part of the store under the skylight are the departments that generally have the highest sales in other of the stores. So this says even the departments with no skylight equals the same amount of money. So I think just by looking at this, you should be able to figure out that the answer here is B, because it's saying no skylight equals no extra money, which supports that the skylight causes more money. Okay, so this one is the final passage that we're going to look at, and this is a hard one from the same book. I really encourage you to pause this now and take as much time as you need to take relevant notes. Remember to look for trigger words. Remember to organize your notes using the hierarchy that we've been using. Okay, so this one was tough. I'm not gonna lie, when I was reading this, I think I was going cross-eyed because it's just, I don't know anything about astronomy, right? So it's so complicated, so foreign to me, but that's okay because we want to just look for relevant information that we can take notes on. What is this about, and why did the author write each part of it? So the first thing we read is that in a supernova in the Milky Way causes cosmic rays. Okay. The next thing is, but here is the, let's go back. However, supernova does not equal these ultra high energy cosmic rays. Notice that I did not leave the abbreviation UHECR. That was just for my own benefit because when I was writing this, I lost track of the fact that these were a kind of cosmic ray. I have a question here. Maybe I could have moved the question mark, question mark equal or equal question mark, these Q things or these GRBs, but they crash and that has a cost. So consequently, it's not cosmic rays that are greater than 100 million light years from UHEs. Okay, so with these notes, it can be inferred that the author of the passage would agree with which of the following about the origins of UHE cosmic rays that reach Earth. Once again, check all that apply. So you want to be checking these against your notes and you want to be eliminating things as much as possible. In this case, the origin is something other than supernovas in the Milky Way. Well, we have that, but supernovas do not equal these. So yeah, this one checks out. We have a definite answer here, definite support for this one, so we can check this one. B, the origin is most likely something other than very distant quasars or gamma ray bursts. This is why it's important to read every word in the answer choices, because we have this very distant. And if we go back, notice my notes don't have anything about the distance, but if we quickly research this in the passage, very distant, let's see, what's seen, quasars and gamma ray bursts billions of light years away from Earth. So if we use what's in the passage, billions of light years away, to mean very distant, then we know that, they can only be 100 million light years away or so. So yeah, it's not going to be these. So this one also checks out. And last one, the origin is most likely no more than a little over 100 million light years away from Earth. That's from the conclusion. Does not equal things very much more than 100 million light years. So yeah, the answer is A, B, and C. All of them are supported in the passage. And you can see how all of them have some basis in our notes, except for this very distant, which is something that maybe you want to adjust your note-taking skills to account for, or you can trust yourself to read every single word and remember that these are billions of light years away. That's ultimately you being aware of your own strengths. So this is the final question. In the context of the author's argument, the last sentence performs which of the following functions? So I've recreated it down here for you. Oops. Oh no, pretend that you didn't see that. Is it? Okay. So is it explaining something? You have an equal sign. It's not these cosmic rays. Criterion that it was employed earlier in the argument. So here is, I guess they have the ultra UHE. So it might be explaining that a little bit, but more than that, it's giving us something that relates to it, or something it's, I suppose, coming to a conclusion almost, you can say. So shows that an apparently plausible position is actually self-contradictory. So it is mentioning, it is sort of written in reference to this question if it's these Qs or GRBs, but it's not saying that anything is self-contradictory. Conclusion drawn in the course of refuting a potential explanation. Our notes sort of indicate that, and if we go back to the exact language, consequently, no cosmic ray traveling much beyond can retain the energy observed in these. It's refuting the fact that it's these, right? It's not the crash, it's not these Qs, and it is drawing a conclusion here. So let's hold on to C. Overturning an assumption on which an opposing position depends. There was no opposing position. It did say that it might have been these, but once again, there's no assumption because we know how far away that they are already. Main conclusion that the author is seeking to establish. Possibly, but in this case, C is more specific. It is a conclusion, and it was made in relation to, in the course of, refuting this explanation. So C is the best answer. Okay, so that was the first passage from the easy, medium, and hard question sets in the official ETS GRE verbal guide. Just a word about hillhouse.us. We offer, in addition to GRE and GMAT private lessons, we also offer scholarship and application essay help. We can edit your paper with you, we can workshop it with you, or we can advise you. This is our favorite saying at Hillhouse: writing is rewriting, rewriting is writing. If you're looking to apply to some schools that require statements of purpose or personal statements, we're happy to work on those with you. If you're applying for a scholarship that requires an essay, we're happy to take a look at that for you. So good luck studying. Reach out with any questions you have. All right, I look forward to answering any questions you have. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time. Hopefully it won't be a month before our next video. Thanks for being a part of the group, everyone. Good luck.